Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna Stories. He almost didn't recognize her at first, not because she had changed beyond recognition, but because his mind refused to place her there, sleeping on a cold airport bench wrapped in a worn gray blanket. Two infants pressed gently against her chest as if the world might steal them if she loosened her grip. Adrienne Vale, billionaire investor, tech tycoon, a man whose name opened doors across continents, froze mid-step in the international terminal. The noise of rolling suitcases, boarding announcements, and rushing travelers blurred into nothing as his eyes locked onto the woman who had once cleaned his penthouse and quietly slipped out of his life 3 years ago without a word. Eliza, the maid who never complained, who worked late, who read books during her breaks instead of scrolling her phone, who smiled softly but carried a sadness he'd never asked about. His heart tightened as he watched her sleep, sitting upright, exhaustion carved into her face, one hand instinctively cradling the twins. Twins? That was impossible. His breath caught. 3 years ago, Eliza had vanished the same week his doctors told him he could never have children. He remembered the sterile white room, the specialist's careful tone, the word infertile echoing like a verdict. He remembered drinking alone that night, and he remembered Eliza knocking on his door to return a watch he'd left in the kitchen. He remembered too much. Adrienne took a slow step closer, then another, his polished shoes echoing against the floor. The babies stirred slightly, identical faces peaceful and unaware, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect rhythm. His mind raced. Matthew couldn't escape. Timelines that collided. Eliza shifted, eyelids fluttering, and when she looked up, their eyes met. The shock on her face was instant, raw, like someone seeing a ghost. She straightened, panic flashing as she adjusted the blanket around the twins. "Mr. Vale," she whispered, her voice hoarse with sleep and fear. He hadn't heard the title in years. "Eliza," he replied, barely recognizing his own voice. Silence stretched between them, heavy with things unsaid. Finally, he asked the question that burned through him. "Are they—" He couldn't finish. She followed his gaze to the babies, and her eyes filled, not with pride alone, but with years of buried truth. "They're yours," she said. The world tilted. Adrienne staggered back as if struck. "That's not possible," he said, though every instinct screamed otherwise. She nodded slowly. "That's what I thought too, until the doctor said I was pregnant. I tried to tell you, but your assistant said you were abroad. Then the doctors told you what they told you. I thought you'd think I was lying or worse." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want money. I just wanted peace." He stared at the twins again, his twins, and suddenly memories rewrote themselves. The night he drank too much, the night he woke with regret and confusion, the night Eliza resigned the next morning, eyes red, dignity intact. "Why didn't you come back?" he asked, anger and pain tangling together. "Because I knew your world," she said softly, "and I knew mine. I was a maid who got pregnant by her employer. I would always be a scandal, and they would always be a secret." One of the babies whimpered, and Eliza soothed him instinctively. Adrienne watched, something inside him breaking open. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Anywhere," she replied honestly. "I saved what I could. I work when I can. I'll figure it out." He looked around the gleaming terminal, the luxury lounges bearing his company's name, the irony sharp enough to hurt. Here he was, a man with more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, and his children were sleeping on a bench. Without another word, he took off his coat and draped it gently over them, then crouched so he was eye level with Eliza. "You shouldn't have had to do this alone," he said. Tears finally fell down her cheeks. "I didn't want to need you." "You don't," he replied, "but they do, and I do too." He pulled out his phone, canceled his flight, ignored the buzzing of assistants and board members. In that moment, none of it mattered. What mattered were the 2 tiny lives that carried his eyes, his chin, his blood. Days later, the headlines would explode. Billionaire discovers secret twins, hidden heirs revealed. But that night, in a quiet hotel suite, Adrienne held his children for the first time and felt richer than he ever had. He listened as Eliza told him everything: the fear, the night she cried herself to sleep, the strength it took to keep going. And he listened, truly listened, because love, he realized, wasn't built in boardrooms or balance sheets. It was built in moments like these, missed, painful, and finally reclaimed. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that truth has a way of finding the light and that love can change everything, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every story you watch here is a reminder that behind every face is a secret, and behind every secret is a heart waiting to be understood.